Welcome to Whitetail Rendezvous, hosted by Bruce Hutchin. I'm so happy you've joined us today, and you're going to find out a lot about whitetail hunting on the show. This is Whitetail Rendezvous Podcast, episode number 306. Hey, folks, we got a new sponsor. It's called Buckwild Coffee. What's so special about Buckwild Coffee? Well, a gazillion people go to Starbucks every day and drink coffee. Well, why shouldn't Buckwild Coffee offer you light, medium, or dark roast with free shipping? All you have to do is go to whitetailrendezvous.com, go to shop, and order your coffee, and I'll ship it out for free. Hey, thanks so much for visiting Buckwild Coffee. The best brew in the West, the best brew around the campfire, the best brew in the hunting shack, the best brew anywhere. Buckwild Coffee. Get yours today. Today we welcome Timothy Cool out of Iowa and Prodigy Outdoors. What makes Prodigy so simple? Well, it's pretty easy. They're passionate about motivating other people to search high and low for their dream. Might be the biggest buck in the woods, or it might be that sunset or sunrise, or getting youth involved, or their girlfriends. They all like to go and travel, filming their hunts. And they're willing to go to places that few other people will go just because they know the harder they work, the closer to a good film session they're going to get. I think you're going to sit back, relax, and enjoy Prodigy Outdoors with Tim Cool. It's never too early to think about food plots. Whitetail Rendezvous has an ebook for you. Just simply text 33444 food plot to get your copy. Welcome to another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous. This is your host, and I'm heading to Iowa. Wait a minute, I was just in Iowa at the Iowa Deer Classic. Now I'm going back there. No, we aren't. We're doing this on radio, so I am not driving another 700 miles. Tim Cool is the owner, originator, and the big kahuna at Prodigy Outdoors. Tim, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's a blessing.
Well, and Tim, you know, I'm excited about young guys that are making a difference. And, you know, you want to educate people, you want to motivate people, and you want to put all this on film. So what's wrong with us sitting down for half an hour or so and talking about what the heck you're doing and why you're doing it and how you guys hunt? So let's get rolling. How did you start Prodigy Outdoors?
Well, I feel like most people, at least in my sense, I remember when I was about 14, 15, I didn't start filming until I was probably 23. But I remember since I was 14, remember being in the tree stand and you think about, the real tree guys and hunter specialties were big back then. And they'd say, hey, folks, we're here in Iowa and it's November 20th and, 30 degrees out kind of thing. I just remember, mentally reciting that every time I was in the tree stand. And I guess just one day a friend and myself just were like, dude, let's buy a camera. And I think it was the second or third hunt out as a late muzzleloader. We actually killed a buck on camera. And it was like, I mean, looking back now, terrible footage, but that's what I guess has gotten us to where we are today is we're constantly trying to progress and get better and learn. And so that if we do come in contact with somebody that's looking for help or advice, we can provide that.
So you said in the warm-up that you decided to go all in Iowa. Where were you living before, and what's your real job?
I grew up, most of the guys, if all the guys have at one time at least lived in New York State. So after college, I moved to Maryland, and my best friend Cody, who's also a big component in Prodigy, that's kind of where we really got our feet in the ground and have done a lot since in the last 3 years. But I work as a utility forester for a Midwestern utility company, and I look for trees, vegetation that's growing up under the wires, and I plan that and contact whoever owns that and get that squared away so that it can be pruned and maintained properly. I chose Iowa because, this is the, like it says, it's the field of dreams. It's on the signs you cross the Mississippi. This is the promised land, and this is where everybody wants to go. And I'm only 27, and other than I don't really have any ties. So I was like, well, you know what? I'm going to give it one last shot. And because I didn't really like Maryland that much, it wasn't as conducive to my lifestyle. And believe it or not, I feel like home out here. It was like maybe 1 week. The first week I was here, I was kind of uncomfortable feeling and anxiety. And all of a sudden, I drive to work every day and the sun's coming up, and it's just beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And, the people, I spent the weekend with two groups of guys, Whitetail Stalkers, Mark Grandstad and crew, and then Brandon Dom from Trophy Whitetails of Iowa, and just fantastic guys. And they opened their homes to us and to me and kept me fed and became friends. And there's something unique about Iowa. I would support that 100%. And if you don't know those guys at Whitetail Stalkers, Mike Grandstad and Brandon Dams at Trophy Bucks of Iowa, you ought to check them out because they're just great guys.
Stuff.
Yeah, and they're great guys. Connect with them. Say Uncle Bruce told you to get in touch with them and make the connection. One thing that I wanted you on the show simply because one of the three things you're passionate about: motivating others to search high and low until they find their dream and next follow their dream. Let's unpack that a little bit. That transcends hunting. That's a life statement. And so how did you come up with that?
Well, I guess ultimately, thinking back to when I was a kid, I mean, even we'll say high school math. I failed math several times. Wasn't very good at sports. Had to go to summer school for it. Kind of quit sports along the same time that I started bow hunting specifically. And I had this property that was literally across the street from the high school. It's family owned, and I could do whatever I wanted back there. And I kind of just got lost in it. And it was something that was between me and myself. And through that, I guess I, developed a passion for more towards wildlife and forestry and conservation, natural resources. And that's what ultimately led me to college in forestry and wildlife biology. And again, I struggled in school. I had to retake some courses, and looking back, it doesn't matter now. I've passed and everything else, but I guess the struggle just continues to kind of either make you or break you. And so I guess being faced with those adversities, I guess it just made me kind of realize in some books that I've read and speakers that I listened to, it just, you see it all the time. There's a bodybuilder, for example, that has autism, or, people with one leg or two legs running marathons. And it's just like, for me, that's hunting. And so I just put my heart and soul into it. And here I am.
And thanks for that, because hunting does bring certain people to places that they would never have gotten to without putting the time in and following their dream, from a tree stand. So let's talk about your hunting tradition, where that began and where you think that's going to take you.
My hunting tradition, as I said, was literally right across the street from the high school. Just right behind my cousin's house was his grandfather's land on the other side of the family. And I called him Grandpa for the day he died, and he let me do whatever I want back there. And from a young age, I started shooting nice bucks. And in New York, that's about a 2.5-year-old 8-pointer, it was kind of unheard of. But from everything that I was reading and seeing other people do when I was a teenager, I was hunting during the times where a lot of guys would get out, and I was still aggressive, moving my tree stands and stuff like that. And, a lot of the bucks I ended up killing were midday and stuff like that. So I guess that's a tradition, is mostly solo. And as time went on, my dad and I have grown closer, and we've gone on hunting trips, and we try to go to the Catskills of New York every year, which is kind of like this little hidden gem of turkey hunting. And in college, I met Cody, and and Cody and I, I say, hey, Cody, you want to go to Wyoming? Yeah, sure, let's go to Wyoming. And last year we went bow hunting in Wyoming for mule deer and whitetail. Or they'll say, hey, do you want to go to the Eastern Shore and hunt sitka deer? And it's like, yeah, sure. So we both kind of have the same mentality and drive, and it just flows. So as far as a specific tradition, I don't think we have one. I think our tradition is to just, live it, breathe it, pretty much 365, except for when there's ice. Cody's out ice fishing. I can't get a hold of him.
I don't like the ice fish, so I'll pass on that. Thanks for the invite, right? Now, what about knowledge? You try to stay educated, informed on whitetail deer and deer management. How do you do that?
Well, through trial and error is one. I will say, for example, guy on television says to plant this specific food plot brand of seed and these species of plants, but sometimes the deer, their taste buds don't really like that specific species or plant type. For example, in New York, I've had decent success with turnips. Like I've had them eat the tops, and in the wintertime they do eat the bulbs, but not enough to where I actually plant a significant quantity of turnips and stuff like that. So a lot of it's trial and error. And then the other is organizations like the QDMA. They're constantly spending the time and the money and using their resources to, figuring out why a buck is traveling at this time of the day versus this time of the day, or why they're bedding in specific areas. And so kind of a combination of both trial and error and just being really, really super intuitive or attentive while I am hunting and in the field.
So how do you transfer the knowledge that you're gaining with Prodigy Outdoors to your viewers or listeners?
We go to a lot of shows on behalf of other companies. For example, this week I'm going to grand opening of Field and Stream. I'll be working on behalf of Bear, Trophy Ridge, a couple companies like that. And, you talk to a guy, he wants to get a bow. He's got his son there. Which bow should I get? And so whether it's food plots or bows or anything, face-to-face contact is great. A phone call or email. We're starting to get people asking us questions about that, and that's really cool. But most of our stuff is done via videos and photos on social media.
Now, to talk about social media, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Prodigy Outdoors. No space or anything in between. And we now have a website, www.prodigyoutdoors.com. It's up and running. It's still being tweaked, but I like to, and it's all on our own dime. I like to do some giveaways and stuff like that. So last week we gave away two. It's actually called a Shag Pad by Vapor Trail Archery, and what it is it's a arrow shelf dampener that goes right in front of your arrow rest. If you're using drop away, and built right into that rubber dampener is an arrow cradle. But the proprietary material they used actually kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, the arrow actually sticks to it. So if you're walking through brush, you actually have to turn the bow upside down for that to come off the arrow cradle there. And so I gave two of those away last week, and just stuff like that we try to do for the folks that, follow us and are active with us.
Thanks for that. Now, what about pro staffs? Are you on any other pro staff teams?
Yeah, a whole bunch. Bear Archery is our biggest, and they do a lot for us. Actually, all the companies do a lot for us. But, they Hot Shot Manufacturing, which is now Hot Shot Archery. They make releases. They've been in the business for 30 years. Vapor Trail Archery, they make the limb-driven rests. They were the originators in the limb-driven technology. And they have their own proprietary string material as well. Moon Tree Stands, based out of Florida. Brian was actually at the Iowa Deer Classic, and he's invented the first tree stand without cables, and that you're capable of shooting 365 or 360 degrees on. Another one is Thrive broadheads. They are going to be on the market soon. That guy is based out of the northwest part of the country, and I think he's really worth checking out. He's got a really innovative idea on a broadhead. But
and thanks for that. And I'm going to give a shout out to Brian Ritchie and his dad, Tony. They came up with Moonstands. And if you haven't seen it, go to moonstands.com. It's unique because there are no cables. And if anybody's shot a deer or shot at a deer off of one leg because there's no place to put their outside leg, it's in space. And there's a deer behind you and you've got to pivot and the cables are in the way. Well, they have eliminated all that. So big shout out to Brian Ritchie and his dad, Tony, at Moonstands.
Yeah. And what's that?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, the nice thing about that is if I'm filming with somebody like Cody, he can just leave his bow at home because I can shoot 360 now. And then he doesn't have to worry about, covering my six, when we're hunting and filming together. So that's the best part about it for me,
Yeah. And so I'm stumbling here. Moonstands. I wasn't going to throw that out, but he did. So there you go. Brian Ritchie. Let's talk about, motivation. How do you stay motivated to hunt, be a 365 hunter?
It really, it can be difficult because, you lose hunting spots throughout the year, or, a lot of people have other obligations and other sports that they do and stuff like that. I don't have that. And I know that some guys can balance the two, other sports or hobbies, but I can't because I feel like I'm not able to devote 110% to solely hunting and being completely prepared, because to me, there's always something that I can be doing. Whether it's like right now, I just moved to Iowa and I've already got 2 farms that I can hunt because I'm putting myself out there and I'm knocking on the doors and I'm saying, hey, my name's Tim. I just moved to the area. Just looking to talk to you about, if I can hunt and what I can do to hunt. One of the farms I'm going to be working on in the springtime here, probably bailing hay. I haven't sorted that out yet, but so just constantly putting yourself out there. And I actually have to listen to a lot of speakers on YouTube or whatever media you like, Eric Thomas or Jim Rome, or there's several other guys that just are motivational speakers in general. And I guess I apply that to hunting because I feel like there's always somebody out there doing it when you're not. So the nights that are like big holiday nights, or, New Year's Eve, when most of the guys are out partying and stuff like that, I'll say to myself, well, if I don't go partying, that's another night that I can do X, Y, and Z on the computer, or, that kind of thing. So I guess it's, I don't know how I stay motivated. Another reason I stay motivated is I had some friends pass away at a very young age, 3 of them to be exact. And I guess seeing them pass away at a young age is just kind of always reminded me that like life is seriously so short, and that if I don't, see it through its full potential, then.
Whitetail Rendezvous is pleased to announce a partnership with GoHunt.com. Who's GoHunt.com? Well, if you're a DIY hunter, you need the information at GoHunt.com/insider. Why? Because it provides 4,200 profiles, every unit, every species, and every season. Furthermore, they give in-depth analysis, interactive maps, unit access, and seasonal trends. Draws are very important, and they give you the most accurate information in the business. All this is available when you go to GoHunt.com/insider. Make sure you use promo code WR when you join Insider. You'll get a $50 gift card for GoHunt.com Gear Shop. All in all, if you're hunting out west In 2018, GoHunt.com Insider is where you need to be to get all the research information. When you use promo code WR, Whitetail Rendezvous receives a small commission from GoHunt.com.
I don't know what I'm here for.
Wow, I like how you said that. I really do. You know, there's a lot to you, Tim. You know, and this is a hunting show. This is about whitetails, but you know, today we're getting a young man's perspective on life and what drives him and sets him apart with some other people, and a person that's after his goals and has included his friends and other people to accomplish that. Where did that come from?
Can you repeat that?
Yeah, you're a very interesting person. You're driven. You have your path. You go after your dreams, and I'm just wondering where all that drive came from. Because some people would hang out at parties and do whatever there, but you're thinking about doing some different things, and just the way you moved to Iowa. You said, "Hey, I'm going to go for this. I'm going to do this. I want to be in the land of the giants," as they say about Iowa bucks. So
Yeah.
You're unique, and I want to find out what makes you unique. That's the question I'm asking, because listeners need to hear that.
I think what makes me unique is there might be somebody that has better land than us, or more money than us, or anything more than us, or me specifically, I guess. But I know I can count Cody for this. But there's not going to be anybody that hunts harder than us, and so it's when we see guys that are, in the front of a camera and they're selling something or misinforming people, or doing things so that they can gain attention that aren't correct. That's kind of what drives me is speaking the truth and doing what's right. I think that's what drives. I'd say that's what drives me. I don't think there's anything beyond that. Is just doing the right things and speaking the truth. And people telling me no, the dozens of unanswered emails I've gotten, or unanswered phone calls, or the person that says no, or that you can't do this or you can't do that. That's what drives Prodigy Outdoors.
Yeah, no is a powerful word.
Yeah.
I love to hear it. No, you can't do that. People heard this before. In February of 2016, I got a brand new hip, and in August of 2016, I climbed a 14er. So there you go.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah. Well, it takes it. You just have. It's the inner drive. It really is that you realize, if you really want to get after it, you get after it. And no is just another way of saying, okay, I better change up the way I'm doing this because that didn't get any results. Let's find out where we get the results.
Yeah.
So let's talk. People are going, what are these guys talking about? Where's the whitetails? Let's jump into the whitetails bedroom and tell me how you like to hunt.
Well, believe it or not, I'm a big fan of early season hunting. And I think that a lot of guys don't like early season hunting, and a lot of times their reasoning is that they'll miss the rut. But I think we try to take advantage of the early season because they're so patternable. Everybody knows that. But we use, I don't know, hopefully I'm not getting off too much off topic, but we don't rely on trail cameras, but we use trail cameras a lot. And sometimes we'll use them, reversely, I guess, is if we check a trail camera and there isn't activity on it, that'll allow us to, know to move somewhere else or scout somewhere else. And I think that our, scouting throughout the year is kind of what really helps us be successful. And we're very aggressive. Like Cody and I have it down to pretty much a science. We can hang a stand, 4 climbing sticks, the staggered ones, with 2 camera stands in the dark in about 10 minutes without really usually making a peep. And so, sometimes we're allowed to go in and walk into the back door and hang that set if we saw a deer in the area the night before, or got a new spot and we're kind of just scouting through Google Maps and figuring out where to hunt. But I think I might have got off track there a little bit, but
okay, I'm going to bring it back around. You
Yeah,
just said
thanks.
something very, very important, because I do listen to my guests. And if you don't see activity, you go find activity. And so
Yeah.
many people will hang a trail camera and waiting to see activity. But if you go, 1 or 2 nights, 3 nights, help me out with your time frame here.
Well, cameras, it depends on the camera. Like I have certain cameras that I may check at 9 to 10 o'clock at night. And people are like, really, you go in the woods at night? Well, yes, because I know that the deer are going to be, there's a very good chance that they're going to be in this field or directionally towards this field at this hour of the night. And I can come in and check the camera or if the wind even is not right, we won't check our cameras. And I used to think, well, that's not a big deal. I'll just go check my camera. But those little tiny microscopic, things, I guess, little techniques, and they start building up to this huge, organism, I guess, that will result in success. I've just these little tiny things like don't check your camera when the wind's bad, don't sit in that stand when the wind's bad. And so I guess as far as the 1, 2, or 3 nights thing, I'd say when we were most aggressive is if we see a buck, we'll say across the field or several hundred yards away. Typically we'll hang a set if we can, and we'll hunt it once or twice the next following day or two. And I've noticed in the past, especially like right around the end of October, you can catch the deer right around, people consider it the pre-rut, but I guess, I don't know the exact dates, but around the end of October, if I see a buck in an afternoon, we'll say specifically, I can almost bet that he'll be back there the next day or 2 or 3. And he's kind of starting to figure out what's going on with the does. And he's starting to kind of, I guess, come alive with his rutting activity. So that's helped us be successful, is kind of keying in on, if you do see a buck, can I move in on it? And when can I move in on it? Is it something I can do, or is tomorrow going to be a south wind and it's going to blow it all away?
And that makes sense. And the other thing is, I bet you keep journals, don't you?
Yeah, I do a lot of my journal keeping on a website or app called Big Game Logic. I know there's all kinds of apps out there. That's my favorite. But what it allows me to do is build a camp, I guess, per se. I'm actually able to go on there and set my stands, and it has a scent cone where the wind will be blowing accordingly. And I'm able to say, well, I saw a Big 10 here. And yeah, I might not have killed that Big 10. We'll say it was November 14th. But next year, I can almost bet around the same time in that same area, that buck or another mature buck or a buck that you guys would consider a shooter will be working that same area, because I've also found that a lot of times the big bucks and deer in general, you can kill them a lot of times out of the same stand year after year if you find that right spot.
And don't blow it up.
Yeah.
And that happens to, many of us. And, go ahead.
I think that's like one of the most important things too, that I've talked to a lot of guys and even close friends. They're still working on it, that they want to hunt, it's the hunting season, but we've found that it's sometimes the best medicine is to sit home and, I don't know, ask your wife or girlfriend if she needs any honeydews done, but just to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. Like, for example, today it's 70 and yesterday was in the upper 40s. Now, if I saw a buck last night that came out to the field feeding, etc., or cruising a ridge, if the weather was consistent the next day, today it is not, I probably wouldn't go in and try to hunt or move in on that deer with the higher temperatures. I don't know if that makes any sense, but
no, it makes a lot of sense. Barometric pressure. I mean, there's a lot of guys scientific, they can they can take apart, any day in the moon phase and all these. I just like how I fish. I fish on either rising or falling barometers, and that works well. Game gets active that way. They get active by the moon. There's a lot of things that you have to factor in. That's why keeping a log is important when you get real serious about hunting deer. And what I mean by that is not going to the same stand you've hunted, and yeah, you killed the buck out of there, but when you want to up your game and find the biggest buck in the woods and see if you can match woods with him.
Yeah.
And if you want to shoot a doe or a spike buck and it's legal, hey, go right ahead. Or if you want to start hunting a big mature deer, then it's a whole new ball game. Your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. And I think it's very important for somebody, especially a young kid, and maybe out in the Midwest, it's different because I've heard of stories, little kids shooting bucks, giants, and that's fine. I tell people that I've got introduced to hunting. I've introduced several and taken them under my wing, specifically more towards bow hunting. I'm like, you need to learn and get comfortable shooting a deer and being around deer and when to draw and when to, to not move or, so I think it's important to kind of work your way up to that level as well. Maybe you've been shooting 4 and 5 and 6 pointers forever and that's great, but you want to up your game. Well, start out, try to focus on a 2.5-year-old deer at 110, 120 inch 8-pointer and study what that looks like and study, your trail camera pictures and then start growing from there. I think that's very important, and it is a whole nother ball game.
Tim, cool. This has been really fun. We're at the point of the show that you need to give some shout out. You can give some shout outs, and then we're going to wrap the show.
Okay. Well, first of all, shout out to you because wouldn't be here without you, and I really appreciate you reaching out to me. Secondly, as I said, their archery, vapor trail, hot shot, moon stands, thrive broadheads, and shootingtime.com. My parents, my friends, I mean, there's so much out there for what we're doing. And there's even people that I guess are kind of behind the scenes. It's just great. For us, if we get one email or 2 or 3 emails a month or one comment asking us this question, I mean, that's it's amazing when someone reaches out to us and thinks that we are capable of giving them the knowledge that they want, and we are capable of giving them the knowledge.
So, Tim, on behalf of thousands of listeners across North America, Whitetail Rendezvous says thank you so much, and I look forward to watching you guys grow. You got a lot going on, and I'm excited for you. And if I ever do draw an Iowa tag, I'll be sure to look you up. I
know a guy. Yeah, look me up. So I would really like that. That'd be great. And I'm in a good area here. So I appreciate your time, and I hope everybody.
Hey, folks, we got a new sponsor. It's called Buckwild Coffee. What's so special about Buckwild Coffee? Well, a gazillion people go to Starbucks every day and drink coffee. Well, why shouldn't Buckwild Coffee offer you light, medium, or dark roast with free shipping? All you have to do is go to whitetailrendezvous.com, go to shop, and order your coffee, and I'll ship it out for free. Hey, thanks so much for visiting Buckwild Coffee. The best brew in the West, the best brew around the campfire, the best brew in the hunting shack, the best brew anywhere. Buckwild Coffee. Get yours today.
Have a blessed rest of the day, and thanks for listening.
On the next episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, we're going to visit with Joseph Piccone of Piccone Trophy Whitetails of Southern Ohio. Say that fast 5 times. Anyway, Joe runs a great operation down in Southern Ohio. He's got some great leases. He's got some great shooter bucks. And one thing that I've heard and talked to people who've hunted with him, you might come as a client, but you sure as heck going to leave as a friend because he's that type of guy. And it's a sincere pleasure to welcome Joseph Piccone of Piccone's Trophy Whitetails of Southern Ohio to our next show.
Thanks for joining us. Be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode of Whitetail Rendezvous, where you can listen and learn from the experts so you can be more successful on your next hunt. Until next time, listen, learn, and succeed.